Hey, I'm Zach McDonald, your real estate agent with Real Property Associates, and in today's video, we're going to talk about how to leverage short-term rentals and rent backs to make you a more competitive home buyer. The Seattle real estate market is heating up once again, and there are other markets around the country that are getting more and more competitive as well. And this competitive environment creates problems for home buyers. For a first-time home buyer, they're going to be afraid of the process and how to make that offer and set themselves apart. And the same thing is also true for somebody who already owns a house. They want to make their offer the most competitive when they're trying to purchase their next home. And some people who already own a house can't afford to take on two mortgages. And so for them, they have a competitive advantage kind of built in. They can keep their current house and make that next purchase. And then after they buy their house, they can sell it. Most people, however, need to sell their current house before they qualify for financing on the next one. Specifically, if it's an even better house than the one that they currently own. And in this situation, they would be what's called a contingent buyer. And what that means is that they're financing, they're approved for it, but they have to close on the sale of their current home before they would be able to close on the purchase of their new home. And sellers don't like that, especially if the market's competitive. And let's be real, a seller would prefer that you've already sold your house and that your sale is not, or your purchase is not going to be contingent on the sale of your current house. So a lot of times in a competitive situation, if there are other buyers in the pool or other offers on the table, a seller is going to choose one of those other offers over your offer if you have to sell your house first. And that's just the way it is because the seller is more confident and assured that you're going to be able to make this purchase. And a seller just wants to know that they're going to sell their house and they want to have the least amount of contingencies or opportunities for the transaction to fall through. Now, the good news is that there are ways that you can, as a home buyer, make yourself more competitive. And I won't say that they're easy, but there are a few different ways that you can set yourself apart from some of the other buyers that are in the market. Now, you're going to need to put into place some of the tactics and strategies that I talk about in my How to Make a Competitive Offer video, and I'll make sure that we link that up here in the description so you can see the different strategies that I talk about, and you will need to employ some of those strategies to make yourself competitive. But on the financing side, you can do a few different things. So your first option as a home buyer when you already own a house is to rent back your current home from a new buyer. So the way this would work is you put your house on the market. We market it and attract a buyer, and when you're in a hot market, it usually doesn't take a lot of time. You bring in a buyer, and if there's competition, it's even easier to negotiate this rent back because if there's multiple buyers to choose from, we can choose the one that is willing to rent back to you. If there's competition, sometimes buyers will offer free rent back, and they'll let you stay in the house for free for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months. Other times, and this happened in my case when I bought the house that I live in now, we made an offer to a seller and the seller wanted rent back. They wanted 2 months though, and there wasn't any competition at the time. And so we negotiated with them to give them maybe a reduced rate on their rent, but they were paying us rent for those 2 months to live in the house. So as a seller who's also looking to buy, you can negotiate into the contract a clause that allows for you to rent back from the new buyer either for a fee or for free. And this would give you the opportunity to then get the proceeds from the sale and that money, which would then allow you to qualify for your financing on the next purchase without the contingency. So now you have your money and you're a stronger, more qualified buyer on your purchase. The other perk is that you get to stay in the house. You don't have to move. You're allowed to stay there, and this gives you a little bit of that flexibility without the burden of moving. The second option is a short-term rental. And in this situation, you're going to put your house on the market and sell your house. And once your house sells, you're going to move into a short-term rental. Now, this option is not nearly as convenient, But you are going to make that move. You're going to get the money that you need to be a non-contingent buyer on the purchase of your next house. You may, though, have to find a storage unit for some of your things, and you might be paying a little bit of a steeper price to live for a short period of time. But hopefully, and a lot of times you can negotiate with somebody for a reduced rate when you're going to be staying for a longer period of time. So sites like Airbnb or VRBO or something like that, you can usually locate a short-term rental that would accommodate you for 2, 3, 5 months. And it's always nice to have somebody that's set in the place for a while. And most of those sites are looking for somebody that's going to pay them a higher rate, so you are probably going to pay a little more than you would to rent somewhere, but it would be a short-term situation, and maybe you could even get into a 3-month lease or a 6-month lease that you could do like a 1-month notice or something like that. But there are different options for there. But the big reason that you want to do this is because now you're a non-contingent buyer. And in both options, option 1 and option 2, you are now a stronger buyer in the eyes of a seller, and you're going to have a greater chance of getting into the house that you want to, making your next purchase and winning in a competitive environment. So in this video, we talked about 2 different strategies to make yourself a competitive home buyer when you already own a house. The first one is a rent back, where you rent back from the new buyer while you're looking to locate your next purchase. The other option was securing a short-term rental so that you can sell your current house and then go and buy the next one. Each strategy has its own pluses and minuses, and neither of them are perfect, but they are 2 great options that you can use to make yourself the strongest buyer that you can in a competitive market, specifically one that's competitive like Seattle. Thanks so much for watching this video on how to utilize short-term rentals and rent backs to make yourself a more competitive buyer. If you found value from this content, which I know you did if you watched it all the way to the end, please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you find yourself in this situation and want more custom advice to your own situation, or you just want to talk to somebody about it, please feel free to reach out to me at one of the contact methods listed below, and I'm happy to be a resource for you. Bye for now.